Grant Morrison and Gerard Way. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thanks for having us.
It is a genuine pleasure. Now, you guys are here at the Graphic Festival to launch a collaboration. What can you tell us about that?
Well, we were just talking yesterday at lunch. I like how in the span of 10 minutes it's now gone to launch of a collaboration together. That's funny how
the biggest, most important thing we've ever done together.
Yeah,
So you have to sell this now.
Now I have to sell it. Yeah, now I have to sell it. I mean, we just think we're gonna do a Batman story together, but we were just talking about it at lunch yesterday because we're like, well, we gotta talk about something that we're working on together, and then we talked about Batman for 10 minutes. And they're like, cool, let's do that. Yeah. Like, we'll just announce it that they'll print it.
Now that we've said it, DC, I'm hoping we'll just say, oh, that's a good idea. You know, you guys, give us a deadline, and then suddenly we're 2 weeks late. But no, we thought we've done a lot of things together. But I've appeared in Gerard's videos, and we've contributed the forewords to each other's books, and we've been friends for a long time. So we figured, once this whole thing was announced that these two guys are going to be collaborating together, we thought, well, we better do something then, So we figured it'd be really easy to start with a short piece, and we were just talking yesterday about, let's do a Batman black and white and see if DC will be interested. And we come up with a way of doing it that I think is really unusual and really new, and it was based on a little bit of stuff that you'd come up with and a little bit of stuff that I was thinking about. So we thought we'd start with that and then see, once we establish this style, this new way of doing comics that we just come up with yesterday, then we might extend that into something new that's it's a bit more of our own thing. But right now the collaboration is really just us tonight talking, and
so we collaborate every time we hang out together. We're just collaborating, and that's more of that collaboration happening tonight. But we got to in Vegas. That was actually really amazing. At Morrison Con. He had done this. This was the first time you did that, right? Or had you done?
No, I'd done sort of spoken word pieces before, but that was kind of the longest one and probably the best one we've done so far.
Yeah, and there was all this music that James DeWeese and I had, we had put it together, and then we basically played live, and that was really cool to be able to play with one of your heroes who doesn't normally do that kind of thing, and normally I do music, but it was cool to be in the background making the sounds happen. So.
And how did you guys actually first meet? Was it when you were working on the clips for the Killjoys?
No, we'd known each other at that point for many years.
Yeah. I mean, it happened basically. I saw the video for the Black Parade on TV, and I've kind of seen the band before. I'd seen Helena and things. I thought, oh, they look kind of cool. But it was the Black Parade really blew me away. It was for me, it was right at that moment, I'm a big sort of Beatles fan, a big psychedelia fan, and then to see this kind of punk version of psychedelia, and the Black Parade was just Sgt. Pepper is dead, and he's in the afterlife, and it really, visually it struck me, and then I started to listen to the lyrics. I loved the music of it, and what excited me about it was the combination of the emo kid of that period. Those old kids were cutting themselves at the time, the teenagers, and at the same time young boys were dying in Afghanistan and Iraq. And in a way I felt that the video had fused those two, the emo kid and the soldier, together. So it seemed really, really like on the money, and I just thought, whoever made this is a bit of a genius, So I got in touch with Neil Gaiman, who's a mutual friend of ours, and Neil put me in touch with Gerard, and we met up a couple of months later when you were playing in Glasgow, didn't we? And
Neil.
Neil knows everybody, so all you have to do is you call Neil, and he can put you in touch with the Dalai Lama or Jesus.
I don't even think I had met Neil at that point, but he just somehow
he
got
knew
to
you.
me.
He was your friend already,
really quick, and he just sent an email, and I'm like, this is Neil
So he's
Gaiman.
kind of like the consigliere of comics.
Pretty much. So that brought us together, and honestly, from the first moment we met, it was just we couldn't stop talking to each other. So the friendship just began then and has persisted.
Yeah.
Now, one question I wanted to ask, individually, you guys have built a bit of a reputation in comics for bringing the weird, if I can say that. I mean, was that a conscious decision that you've made, not to tell the sort of standard guy walks into a bar kind of stories, and go for something maybe a bit more grandiose?
I've always just woken up in the morning and just done what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
It's really, and what I wanted to do, I guess it's just been what I've wanted to see. So maybe what I wanted to see is a bit off from what somebody else wants to see. But luckily, I've been lucky enough to have a lot of people enjoy that oddness.
You know, and I think it seems weird, perhaps, if you contrast it with, say, an 80s DC comic, or but it was never weird. This wasn't weird for me when I was doing Doom Patrol, which people kind of considered the weirdest comic. I was just writing about my friends. You know, I was hanging about with a lot of young, artistic people. I was in my 20s. It was that was the scene I was in. You know, there was a lot of fragile, broken people, but who were really cool and creative. So I wanted to write about that, and that bunch of characters really fit the milieu that I was living in, you know. So honestly, it's never seemed weird to me. It seemed completely normal. And when people say it's weird, I kind of just point at them and say, well, you must be pretty goddamn conservative.
Right.
So obviously that seems to be the answer that comes out when people ask where their inspiration comes from. It's just whatever occurs to you on the day. But has there been anything, obviously there's been a crossover from your music into comics.
Right.
Has that been your main source of inspiration, or are there other things that have come into play?
I think, you know, all the stuff that I do is generally relative to each other. So I just figure out what the best way to channel that is. Like, Umbrella Academy to me will always be connected to Black Parade because I kind of thought them up at the same time, and I worked on them together. And then obviously Killjoys is connected to the band because I was conceiving those at the same time.
Well, on that, thank you guys so much for taking the time to chat to us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You're welcome, thank you.
Well,